Yeah. And even more horrifying is that the solution to that will be mass immigration from Africa and the Middle East.
Certainly in the case of Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a country murdering itself here. It's just absolutely fucking dreadful.
Deaths of the Ayatollah and his family, including a wee baby girl, and it was just awful. When I saw the photo of her, that was fucking awful. She wasn't dead. It was a photo of her uh, alive and well, and now she's dead. And we're meant to be okay with this, or even celebrate it. And I know that you could say, "Well, war is hell. This happens. You can't be too sentimental." But the point, we don't even know why this is happening. Why is that wee girl dead now? Why has she been killed? You know, why is the woman that she was going to become now never going to exist? I'm sorry if this is too sentimental. I know that this happens in the world, and it's always happened. I know that, but at least there's some sort of justification, some sort of rationale. Well, this is why. It's a just cause. It's noble, but there doesn't seem to be any noble or just cause here. Of course, apart from the fact that we can't see the point of this war, another reason to object to it is that it will inevitably create lots of Iranian refugees. So how is that in Britain's interest? And Restore Britain, I think, did strike the right balance here by saying simply their priority is Britain, and this war will not benefit Britain. And in fact, it could seriously harm Britain by bringing large numbers of refugees from this new war zone. But as I say those words, I'm suddenly the image of that wee baby girl came into my head. It's awful. We talk about, it's a dark time that illuminates things, yeah, but the price is appalling suffering. And of course, there was the school that got bombed, and I think it was 50 girls got killed, and God knows how many injured, maimed. It's awful. It's just awful. And that's what remains, in your head, is that aside from all the geopolitics and the machinations, this is a country in the Middle East that does this to its neighbors. It inflicts appalling pain and suffering on its neighbors, and just seems to be completely shameless about it. And then claims to be the victim right after launching this war. It was it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and you're very viscerally seeing cliches and stereotypes that we've heard about, in our time in this movement. But now it's right in front of you, like playing, crying out in pain while they strike, and so forth. It's amazing.
Yeah. And even more horrifying is that the solution to that will be mass immigration from Africa and the Middle East.
Certainly in the case of Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a country murdering itself here. It's just absolutely fucking dreadful.
Okay, just a quick pre-ramble to this one. I did what I often do in these kind of circumstances. I approached Millennial Woes on Twitter. I asked him directly, I'll stick it on the screen, whether or not he would like to take this opportunity to apologise for the comments that he made. He said that Ukraine was a country just murdering itself by defending itself against Russia's genocidal invasion, as we'll go on to explore in the video. They declined declined to comment on that. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I've given you an opportunity to explain yourself a little bit. You could apologise and say, do you know what, that's a really stupid thing to say. Yeah, because we can all say stupid things to say. It's fair enough. It's fair enough if you show contrition. I mean, if it's sincere, I don't know. Well, you could explain yourself. But you just declined all of that. So I'm left to conclude that you do stand by it. And so, okay, fair enough. I mean, you're entitled to this opinion. But, you know, it should be on the record what you've said. And this is not something that someone should say lightly when you're talking about this kind of context here. Anyway, well, you know, I'll roll the rest of the video. This is what I was wanting to say. Like, you know, I give these people an opportunity. Well, okay, fair enough. There it is. I'll run the rest of the video.
Yeah. And even more horrifying is that the solution to that will be mass immigration from Africa and the Middle East.
Certainly in the case of Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a country murdering itself here. It's just absolutely fucking dreadful. I mean, there's a country murdering itself here. I mean, there's a country murdering itself here.
Okay, well, these are comments made by Millennial Woes the end of December 2022 in his great summit with Morgoth's Review. And I'm quite taken aback, really. And I mean, on reacting to these, there's sort of two kind of options, really, that avail themselves. Firstly, I could just go off and do a rant about it quite easily. And I mean, I could get very angry and talk about this. I'm not going to do that, though, because frankly, anyone who's watched any of these videos before will probably be able to fill in the blanks there. I'll just point you to the direction of his and that entire orbit. They just completely unexist all the war crimes. They sell you a completely false appraisal of what has been happening in Ukraine since the start of the invasion, and they give you Russian narratives. And here he is in December 2022. Now, this actually prefaces the comments he made in October 2023 that Ukraine should have just surrendered to the genocidal invader. Again, this is an invader, again, not to labour these points, but they do need to be stated. This is an invader that literally, within the first weeks of occupying parts of Ukraine, just started murdering people, started torturing people, started raping people. Multi-generational rape being carried out by Russian fucking soldiers. Gang rape. And he called for Ukraine, they should have just surrendered to this. Now, we've got Mariupol, which, I mean, you wouldn't know you wouldn't probably have even heard of that town if you were in this dissident right orbit, because they don't comment about it. It unexists.
They managed to escape the horror, but are still suffering from the trauma of their days trapped in Mariupol, surrounded by the Russian army.
I can't find the words to describe that horror that we experienced. We saw how much the city was destroyed. My son was running under rocket fire to collect water. We collected snow. Boiled it to drink.
65-year-old Irina Perekrestova and her husband Sergei spent 20 days hiding in a basement from the raging battle above. They fled here to Zaporizhia, taken in by their friend Konstantin.
In that house which was bombed, we left my 86-year-old mother. We just weren't able to carry her out. 90% of Mariupol is destroyed. There is nothing more there. We don't have a place to go back to.
But you got the horrors that Russia has carried out in Mariupol, in Kherson, in all these places, the fucking human safari, everything else. So again, I'm going to step over all this. He called on Ukraine, he said that Ukrainians should have just surrendered. But here he is in December 2022 with a far more offensive, far more ill-advised statement. And that is where he has said, I'll tag it in again, there is a nation here just murdering itself.
I mean, there is a country murdering itself here.
This is astonishing that someone could say something so crass, so offensive, so ill-advised. Because we have to analyze it. There is a nation. So if you say there is a nation here, you are just saying this is happening, this is fact. It's kind of like slightly passive, isn't it? There's a nation here just murdering itself. And he actually says a country. So there is a country just murdering itself. So if you define it as the country, you're defining everyone within that country. You're defining the defense of that country. You're defining the soldiers of that country. You're defining the people of that country. You're not even saying, oh, there's a fucking elite here and it's murdering the people of Ukraine. You're not even saying that. You're saying there's a nation or a country just murdering itself. And again, what is murder? Well, we know what murder is, but the literal legal definition of murder is premeditated, unlawful killing. So in defending itself against this fucking roving prison army that is Russia, who have come in on this explicitly genocidal invasion, and Putin has said openly, their casus belli is, oh, well, Ukraine doesn't exist. It's all just a country invented by Lenin. I mean, he's literally said that. He's not going to fucking roll it back. They're filling occupies Ukraine with fucking Turkmenis and Uzbeks and presumably at some point soon Indians and all the rest of it. No comment about any of that. And you listen to the comments that preface this exceptionally ill-advised statement is about how Ukraine, if it's successful, will suddenly become fucking Paris or something in terms of demographics, which is inaccurate. It's grossly inaccurate. It's a fucking fantasy, quite frankly. But this is the narrative that they've been paid to push. Well, okay, we understand that you're a pathological grifter and all the rest of it. But in defining Ukraine as a country that is murdering, that is willfully, intentionally killing itself, you have made possibly the most crass, repulsive comment on this war that I believe I've heard kind of anywhere. I mean, you've got guys like Thomas77, great friend of Frody, who'll crawl up his ass. And he's called for death for Ukraine. Not a problem for Frody, great mate of Ukraine. Not a problem for him at all. He's called for Kiev to be nuked. Again, not a problem for Frody the Toady. All fine. Let's chat about films. But he hasn't actually said, well, it's killing itself. And the soldiers, therefore, that are involved in the defense of Ukraine are playing their part in that. Because that's what you're inferring there. It is a country killing it, murdering itself, premeditated, taking action on an impulse to kill itself. So this is astoundingly crass and offensive. And I'm just going to call on Millennial Woes. You need to apologise for this. That's my interpretation. I actually genuinely believe that. You do need to apologise for these comments. I don't suppose he will. And I can't communicate this to him because he's blocked me on all channels. So I'll just call on anyone who's watched this, just copy and paste this and send it to him on Twitter or wherever else. He needs to confront this. Or do you just agree with it? 4 years on.
I mean, another white pill is the war in Ukraine itself, because they haven't got it all locked up. They haven't got everything under control, because if they did, Putin would never have invaded Ukraine, because they had to kick him out of all of these institutions, and they kicked him out of the World Economic Forum and made Russia into a sort of pariah state. The thing to take away from Putin just outright snubbing the entire technocratic grid and the American deep state and everything is that there's rogue elements, there's black swans like that. They haven't got everything locked down. Their data sets and their modeling, it didn't account for everything. They're being caught out time and time again. I did a video in 2021 called The Elephant and the Whale, which is similar to what he was saying last night, where you've got this technocratic power, and then you've got a power which is rooted to a geographical location. And so when the Ukraine war started, it was kind of like the elephants, as I called it, they kicked back. So I was thinking, well, okay, maybe we got a bit carried away and there's a bit more life in the elephants than we thought, and all of that. One take that you could have on that is like it's a last sort of desperate attempt to kind of shore up the West and give it some kind of meaning, which is some things like people like Richard Spencer have come out with, but where at least we've got a common struggle again, even though we had a different one just 2 years ago, and that all that did was divide everybody. This time it's kind of the same again, but I've got the feeling that a lot of people are just, well, as I certainly am, are kind of keeping a low profile, because this could spiral out of hand, and I don't want to be called a traitor. So, I mean, another white pill is the war in Ukraine itself.